Imagine, if you will, a Middle-earth once again gripped by the shadow of Melkor, Morgoth Bauglir, the first and greatest Dark Lord. The tale begins at the end of the First Age, when Morgoth was cast into the void by the Valar, his spirit fettered by the chains of Angainor and thrust through the door of night into timeless exile. Yet even then, his malice lingered. As Tolkien wrote in Morgoth's Ring, Morgoth had so disseminated his power into the very matter of Arda that the world itself became, in essence, his ring. His defeat was not complete. It was a pause in an unending struggle. But what if that pause ended? If Morgoth were to escape the void, the implications for Middle-earth and beyond would be catastrophic. His return would not merely be a resurgence of an old foe, but a cosmic upheaval. Morgoth, unlike Sauron, did not merely rule armies. He corrupted creation itself. The very stones of the earth, the waters of the seas, and the air of the heavens bore his taint. In the Silmarillion, we are told that Morgoth's original rebellion began not with armies, but with the discord he wove into the music of the Ainur, a defiance of Ilúvatar's will that echoed throughout time. If freed, he would undoubtedly seek to complete what he began, the domination of all existence, reshaping the world in his image. Morgoth's liberation would hinge on two key elements: the weakening of the Guardians of the Void and his latent influence in Alda. The Door of Night, crafted by the Valar to bar his return, might falter if their vigilance waned. Alternatively, mortal or immortal agents, perhaps deceived, as Sauron and Sauron were, could unwittingly release him. Once free, Morgoth would likely target the key artifacts and locations that once opposed him. The remnants of Valinor and the Silmarils, though scattered or lost, would be his obsessions. The Silmarils, created by Feanor and infused with the light of the two trees, symbolized everything Morgoth could not possess. Their loss was a source of his hatred. Their recovery would be his triumph. But Morgoth is no longer the peerless Valar who descended into Arda at the world's beginning. His power was vastly diminished by his self-dissemination, and his physical form, if he could regain one, would be but a shadow of its former might. Yet his cunning and malice would remain as potent as ever. He would not lead great armies as before, but would seek to exploit the cracks in the world's defenses. The hearts of men, ever prone to corruption, would be his first and greatest battlefield. The return of Morgoth would profoundly affect the delicate balance of power in Middle-earth. During the Third Age, much of the might of the elves had waned. The great kingdoms of men had fractured, and even the Valar had become increasingly remote, content to dwell in Valinor after the War of Wrath. These conditions would play directly into Morgoth's hands. Unlike his servant Sauron, whose ambitions were confined to the domination of Middle-earth, Morgoth's aspirations were cosmological. His rebellion against Eru Ilúvatar was a rebellion against the very structure of creation, and his escape from the void would likely rekindle his original desire to remake Arda. This goal would bring him into direct conflict with the Ainur, especially Manwë, his once brother and greatest foe. Sauron's role in Morgoth's resurgence is a point of particular intrigue. Would Sauron, long accustomed to his own dominion, bend the knee to his former master? Morgoth might scorn Sauron for his comparative weakness and reliance on guile rather than sheer power. However, he could also view his servant's survival as a testament to his own enduring legacy. Their alliance, or inevitable conflict, could shape the direction of Morgoth's campaign. Furthermore, Morgoth's former servants, the Balrogs, would be crucial to his plans. Some, like Durin's Bane, had gone into hiding after the First Age, lying dormant in the deeps of the earth. Their awakening would signal the return of the ancient terror that once gripped Middle-earth. Creatures bred in Angband, like dragons, might also emerge anew. Smaug was but a shadow of the mightier worms of Morgoth's time, such as Calagon the Black. A resurrected Morgoth could revive these terrors or create even more devastating creatures to serve his will. Valinor itself, despite its sanctity, would not be immune to Morgoth's wrath. The very thought of his chains and exile would drive him to seek vengeance against the Valar who cast him out. In the Silmarillion, we see that the Valar's power, while great, is not infinite. They once withdrew from Middle-earth, allowing its fate to unfold without direct intervention. If Morgoth rose again, they would face the peril of direct confrontation, risking the destruction of their own realm. One could speculate that Morgoth's first act would be to shatter the Door of Night, which separates Arda from the Void. This act would not merely be a declaration of freedom, but an unraveling of the metaphysical order the Valar had so carefully woven. The return of the Two Trees of Valinor, destroyed long ago by Morgoth and Ungoliant, would become a focal point of the battle. Were Morgoth to succeed in snuffing out the last remnants of their light, Arda itself might plunge into eternal darkness. While Morgoth's primary target would be the Valar, his conquest would engulf all free peoples. The elves, though diminished, would still hold significant sway in resisting him. Rivendell, under Elrond, and the lingering might of Galadriel could form the last bastions of resistance. However, Morgoth's ability to corrupt and manipulate was unparalleled. Would the hearts of men, already so prone to division, falter once again under the weight of his lies? The dwarves, with their ancient enmity toward Morgoth for the desolation of the mountains and theft of treasures, might resist him fiercely. But their greed, a flaw Morgoth exploited in the past, could serve as a weapon against them. One cannot consider Morgoth's escape without referencing the second prophecy of Mandos. In this prophecy, Morgoth is foretold to rise again at the end of days, where he will meet his final doom in the Dagoreth, the last battle. There, Turin Turambar is prophesied to deliver the final blow, wielding his black sword Gurthang to strike down Morgoth. If Morgoth escaped prematurely, it would disrupt this eschatological vision. Would the Valar be forced to summon Turin back to fulfill his destiny before its appointed time, or would another arise in his stead to fulfill the prophecy? Morgoth's escape would disrupt not only Middle-earth, but the very fabric of Ea, the world that is. In the Silmarillion, Tolkien outlines how Morgoth poured his essence into Arda itself, a process that corrupted the natural order and ensured his influence persisted even in his absence. Were he to return, his influence would likely extend beyond Middle-earth to Arman, Numenor's remnants, and even the far-flung regions of the world that remain unexplored in Tolkien's texts. Arda Mard, the tainted version of the world as it exists post-Morgoth's rebellion, would face further defilement. Morgoth's mastery over the elements in the physical world could lead to cataclysms. Oceans might boil, mountains crumble, and the stars themselves dim under his shadow. Such destruction might herald a complete reformation of the world. Morgoth's disdain for the music of the Ainur would drive him to reshape Arda in defiance of Ilúvatar's vision. This act could echo his earlier efforts to create life independently, a feat he failed to achieve as true creation belonged solely to Ilúvatar. Instead, Morgoth would likely warp and pervert existing life, creating new horrors to inhabit his twisted dominion. A key question arises: how would the Valar respond? In the First Age, they unleashed the full might of Ammon in the War of Wrath to overthrow Morgoth, yet that battle left Middle-earth scarred, with the lands of Beleriand submerged beneath the waves. Would they risk similar devastation again? Alternatively, the Valar might adopt a subtler strategy, akin to their approach during the Third Age, where they worked indirectly through agents like Gandalf. The Istari, sent as emissaries of the Valar, could play a pivotal role in organizing resistance. Gandalf, should he return from the west, might take up his mantle once more, bearing not only wisdom, but renewed power to counter Morgoth's malice. One of the most fascinating aspects of Tolkien's mythology is the tension between justice and mercy. In Morgoth's Ring, Tolkien explores the possibility that even Morgoth might be offered redemption. Would the Valar, or even Ilúvatar, extend such an offer upon his return? Morgoth's pride and hatred would likely reject any notion of repentance, but the mere possibility of redemption would introduce a moral complexity to his return. It raises questions about the nature of evil in Tolkien's world. Is Morgoth irredeemable because of his deeds, or because he has chosen to remain so? The fall of Númenor, a cataclysm tied to Morgoth's influence through Sauron, provides a chilling precedent for what his return might entail. The Akolabeth recounts how the hubris of men, stoked by Sauron's lies, led to their downfall. If Morgoth were to escape, his ability to exploit human pride and ambition would likely trigger similar disasters. Yet the remnants of Númenor, embodied in the line of Aragorn, offer a glimmer of hope. The Dúnedain, though diminished, carry the legacy of resistance against darkness. Aragorn's restoration of the throne of Gondor and Arnor might serve as a rallying point for the free peoples, uniting elves, men, and dwarves in a final stand against Morgoth. Ultimately, Morgoth's return might set the stage for the Daggorath, whether prematurely or as part of its destined time. This apocalyptic battle, prophesied to end the world as it is and herald a new creation, looms as a final reckoning. The union of the children of Ilúvatar, men and elves, alongside the Ainur in this ultimate confrontation would be a poignant conclusion to the history of Arda. Morgoth's defeat, though prophesied, would come at great cost, reshaping the world into a purer form, free from his corruption. If Morgoth's escape catalyzed the Dagor-Daggera, the final battle would not merely be an event of swords and sorcery, but a culmination of cosmic and spiritual forces that have shaped the history of Arda. This apocalyptic clash would draw together all the threads of Tolkien's legendarium, uniting the powers of the Valar, the Eldar, and the Edain in a final stand against the Dark Lord. In this last battle, we would see the children of Ilúvatar rise to their ultimate destiny. Men, ever torn between light and darkness, would be forced to choose their allegiance. Some would undoubtedly fall under Morgoth's sway, tempted by promises of dominion and immortality, as was Númenor. Yet others, perhaps led by a new scion of Aragorn's line, would rally to oppose him, recalling the ancient valor of their forebears. The elves, though diminished, would find a renewed purpose. Figures like Galadriel and Elrond, if they returned from Valinor, could summon the ancient strength of their people for one last effort. Even the dwarves, traditionally isolationist in their struggles, might march forth, wielding weapons forged in the deepest fires of their hidden halls. What of the Valar? In the Silmarillion, their power is described as immeasurable, yet their reluctance to intervene directly in the later ages speaks to their caution. A returning Morgoth might force them to abandon their reticence, stepping forth once more as the shepherds and protectors of Ea. The host of Aman, led by Ernwë, the herald of Manwë, and perhaps even by the mighty Tulkas, would be an awe-inspiring force to behold. The prophecy of Mando states that Turin Turambarg, the tragic hero of the First Age, will return to strike the final blow against Morgoth, wielding Gurtang, his black sword. Turin's involvement raises profound questions about the nature of destiny and justice in Tolkien's world. Turin's life was one of immense suffering, shaped by Morgoth's malice and curse. His return would symbolize not only vengeance, but the ultimate triumph of free will and redemption over despair. Could his role inspire others, showing that even those most afflicted by darkness can rise to oppose it? Morgoth, despite his cunning, would find himself cornered in this climactic confrontation. His powers, vast though they remain, are no longer absolute. His self-diminishment, a result of his dispersion into Arda, would leave him vulnerable to the concentrated might of his foes. Yet Morgoth's ultimate weapon lies in his corruption. The lies and discord he sowed throughout the ages would manifest in the hearts of those who stand against him. Allies might falter, and betrayals could shatter the unity of the Free Peoples. The final battle would not merely be fought on the battlefield, but in the minds and hearts of all who oppose him. With Morgoth's defeat, Arda would undergo a transformation. The Dagor Dagorath is prophesied to bring about the remaking of the world, healing the wounds of Morgoth's corruption. This new creation, free from the shadow, would fulfill Ilúvatar's original vision, bringing the music of the Ainur to its final harmony. The surviving Free Peoples would enter this new world as its stewards. The Elves, whose time in Middle-earth has long waned, might finally find peace in their reunion with the Valar. Men, destined to inherit the earth, would begin anew, free from the burdens of Morgoth's shadow. The hypothetical return of Morgoth offers a profound meditation on the themes that underpin Tolkien's work. It explores the nature of evil as both external and internal, the enduring power of hope, and the ultimate triumph of light over darkness. While Morgoth's return would unleash unimaginable suffering, it would also bring about the final resolution of the struggles that have defined Middle-earth since its creation. In this grand tapestry of conflict, redemption, and renewal, Tolkien's deepest convictions shine through, that even in the face of overwhelming darkness, the smallest acts of courage and faith can shape the destiny of the world. What do you think of this speculative tale? Does Morgoth's return offer a glimpse of untapped potential in Tolkien's mythology? Or does it stand as a warning about the dangers of defying the natural order of the world?